It's funny how things happen with me. It's like finding Fred. At the outset of this video, I want to give a shout out to somebody. A beautiful angel that I met this morning that was just passing through. Came in late last night and set up back over that way. Traveling. Beautiful young woman. And we met under some strange circumstances. She was coming out of the ladies' side and I was coming out of the men's side of the outhouse. And we were talking on the street over here on the road and got into a conversation. I was asking her about sleeping in that vehicle. As a smaller type of vehicle. And this is a shout out to Christine. I invited her over for a cup of coffee and she accepted, and we spent several hours today just visiting. And I told her that, you know, there's two types of things in life. There's things and there's God things. Because where I'm parked at today, and by the way, I apologize for the sound of my voice. I'm getting over a really bad upper respiratory infection. And I told you there's two kinds of things in life. There's things and there's God things. And our sitting here today in this camp was not a thing. It was a God thing, because I was debating yesterday before coming here on whether or not to come here. And this is a very special place to Shirley and me, and we've got a lot of memories here. And I said, no, I'm going to Open Pond, and that's where I'm at. I'm at the Open Pond campground in the Conecuh National Forest. And it was more than fortuitous. It was a God thing that Christine and I sat the hours that we did today just talking. And but anyway, Fred, what's in a name? You know, a lot of people that live in their vans and travel in their vans give them a name. And Fred, Shirley and I, when we bought our first van and tricked it out as a camper van, we wanted to give it a name. And we said, why not Fred? Abbreviated version of Frederick. Frederick was Shirley's dad's name, and Fred was a rambler. He was quite a rascal, a real rascally fella. We named that first van Fred, and I could not help but to take that plate off of Fred, which we sold just a few years ago. It had a V8 motor. I think they call it a 5.7. It's basically a 350 Chevy motor, and it was thirsty. And I could not help but to take that plate off of that van and put it on this bumper. And so it's got some meaning to it, a personal attachment. And I'm here doing a little shakedown run, studying on what I need to do to trick out the interior of this 2021 Ford Transit Connect with a little 4-cylinder motor and 8-speed transmission in preparation for pulling out on a long, long ride. I don't know how many square feet of floor space there is in the back seat, or in the back of this little van. And before ever turning the key at the dealership, I told the salesman I want to lay down in the back of it. And I crawled back here and I laid down, and I says, yeah, I can do this. At my height, I can do this in this little minivan. And I spent the night in it last night. I've not gone to the labor or anything of building a bed yet. That's just a little way down the road. I've got to make a run to East Tennessee in June, and after I've made that run, then I'm going to begin working on the interior back here and build a bed so that I've got storage underneath the bed for things that otherwise just get put in here and are in the way unless I move them out of the way. And I don't want to have to do that every time I stop somewhere. Plus, there's places that I can stop and do an overnight where I don't need to be moving things around. I just need to pull in, park, and lay down. So that's what I'm pondering on here this weekend. And you know, I feeling bad and everything. Yeah, I even debated on making this trip, but I said, heck, I can recuperate there at the shack beside the track, or I can finish my recuperation out here in the fresh air, listening to nature and being in the wind. And it was a little chilly last night. I don't know what it got down to, but this sleeping bag, I didn't crawl in it. I've got it unzipped, and I just pulled it over me, and I slept like a baby last night, and that was really good. But you know, just studying on how to configure things, because you've got to have storage space, you've got to have cabinet space. And one of the things that will always ride with me after this trip, and once I've begun to configure things, I've got to have someplace in here for a guitar to ride. And a guitar takes up space. So it's, you know, I'm studying things and coming up with a game plan on how to trick this thing out so that it is ideally suited for me. And with our other van, with our big van, it was tricked out for two. And you know, now that Shirley's gotten her wings and departed this world for the next, it's a little different deal, because I'm not thinking for two, I'm thinking for one. And so that's part of the purpose of being here this weekend. Things are kind of junky up in here right now. But basically all I've got in here, I've got a really comfortable bed made down on the floor of the van with a couple of yoga pads and a couple of self-inflators that we bought. We ordered them, planning to use them when we had planned to pull out after Easter last year. And then we got that horrible diagnosis and prognosis that really changed things and truly turned my world upside down. And at this point, I'm aggressively, proactively working on figuring out what I need to do for me and the responsibilities that I have now that I really don't need. And, you know, where to cut things and how to go about doing things. And so it's very logical, at least in my head, you know, the way my crazy head works. But, so, you know, I've got me a comfortable place to sleep. I've got old Joe with me this weekend. Old Joe is just a little cooler that my mom and dad carried with them on trips that they would go on in the car. And old Joe is, you know, the hinges were broken on it when I found it at the home place. And I put my hands on it, and Shirley ordered some new hinges, and we used it several times on little short trips. And so I've got old Joe up in here. I've got a Lucy light up in here. I've also got a magnetic solar light stuck to the metal frame over here. And between these two, those provide adequate lighting inside of here to do basically anything and everything I need to do after the sun goes down. I've got a lap pad for my laptop computer. I've got a tool bag with tools in it. Up there in that little cubby thing, I've got our Wagon 400 watt pure sine wave inverter. I've got the passenger seat moved forward, and it makes the perfect space for that 122 amp hour deep cycle battery. I did not bring a panel to charge it with because I figured 2 nights just charging my cell phone and maybe running my laptop, I didn't need to worry about recharging that battery. You know, it'll still have plenty of charge in it when I get home tomorrow. Right now I've just got my grocery stuff, my clothes stuff, my toiletry stuff up front on one of those seats, or on both of those seats. And we've got a couple of things that Shirley made for the original Fred that hang on the back of a seat that have pockets. So I'm going to put those on the backs of the seats. At some point, and I've got a study on this, I need the space that seat occupies more than I need that seat. And at some point, I intend to remove that seat and store it. So I have that available space. And that was one of the questions that I asked at the dealership. What's going to happen? What will it do to the computer if I remove that seat? And salesman, he went back and talked to somebody and came back. He says, it really won't do anything to the computer except it's going to give you a code that's, with that code showing, the airbags likely will not deploy. So I asked him, I said, why can't I just put a little jumper in there so it shows that it's connected? And you know, these people, that's probably illegal to do. That's something that a dealership can't recommend or advise you. And if any of you out there have Vanners or whoever, if any of you have any good knowledge on that, let me know. Send me a note, a comment or something. I'm not going to remove that seat hastily or in a hurry or anything, but I've got these short trips I've got to make. I've got one to East Tennessee. I've got one to South Carolina that I've got to make this summer. But after that, you know, it's a different world. And so that's kind of how things are configured. I've got my basic camping stove, my Coleman and the green bottles and that sort of thing. They're out there on a picnic table. But I was sitting here last night looking at things, studying on things, and I was thinking, man, this is great. This is ideal. How much more room does one person need to spend an extended amount of time on the road? And one of the beautiful things about this little van is a 2021 with only 67,000 miles on it. And in preparation for what I'm planning to do, since it was a used vehicle, it did not have a warranty on it from the dealership, so I went ahead and I purchased the extended warranty. It cost $2,200 for that, but I figure if I'm out on the road, that's good insurance, especially with what I'm planning to do and the length of time. You know, I'll not say that I'm becoming a full-time vanner, but I'm going to spend a lot of time out on the road, seeing some things, doing some things, breathing some different air, looking at different rocks, looking at different trees where there are trees. There's a lot of trees. There's a lot of country out there, grasslands and desert, where trees are a rare commodity. But so that's why I went ahead and I bought that extended warranty. And any warranty work that I do here at the local shop, there is no deductible. And at any Ford dealership in this country where I can get warranty work done, the deductible is only $100. And it also includes towing, so I can drop that AAA thing. I don't have to pay $149 a year for AAA. And I can buy a lot of gas or a lot of Progresso soup for $149. So that's where my head is right now. And man, this is getting exciting. Follow along, people. There's some great adventure up the road. And remember that hashtag, where is Fred now? I don't know where all Fred's going, but Fred and I, we're going for a ride.